So stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. And stage 1 was overview and basics. Stage 2 was our process of preparation of income statement and balance sheet. There is one more that we will come back to after we go to stage 3. I will come back to here and we'll discuss one more statement called cash flow statement. That part we'll do later on, but this is done. And now we are moving to step number 3. Now step number 3 was managerial discretion. Now what are we talking about in managerial discretion? Basically, we'll discuss 3 topics here. We'll discuss a topic called revenue recognition, which we will start today. Revenue recognition. Second part topic will be here long-term assets. So in long-term asset, we will visit the issues related to depreciation once again in a little bit of extra detail. And then time remaining, we will also talk about something called inventory. So we'll see that these 3 topics are there in your syllabus that are dedicated for the fact for us to demonstrate the impact of managerial discretion. So in some forms or the other, you have already gotten a small hint of managerial discretion so far, but these 3 topics are dedicated to demonstrate the fact. So of which we will start the first one today. And of course, once we have completed all these, we will go to analyze financial statement. So fourth one will be financial statement analysis. So this is what is the story of this entire course. So stage number 1 and 2 done. Stage number 3 is what we are starting today. So let's get started. It turns out that the question is very easy. The solution is slightly difficult. The question is that how to recognize revenue recognition. By how to I mean which period. It so turns out that if let's say there are 100 legal suits or legal cases that are happening in the accounting domain, then a majority of them pertain to this area, that revenue has not been recognized in a proper manner. What are we talking about? So let's say different periods will happen, that let's say sale here happened here, then receivable created here, money received here, and so on and so forth. Which period should I recognize the revenue? It turns out that it's not such an easy job that we might want to think. Let me give you an example. The example today we are going to take is of any online retailer. Any online retailer, can you name one? Anyone?
Amazon.
How is it that all the 3 sections gave me Amazon as an online retailer? Are Amazon online retailers? What do they sell?
Aggregator, online aggregator.
They're just an aggregator. They say that Cloudtail is a good example. Yes, Myntra, yeah, at least they initially started with online retailer, but later on they also diversified into online retailer. Aggregator, but then other stuff. Let's go with, let's say Big Bazaar has an online portal. Okay, let's go with this example because this name I have been suggested in other sections, so let's stick with it. That's not important here. The important thing is that how things can get complicated. Let us say you are talking about Big Bazaar, and these are the different things that happen in different period. What are the things? Let's say on day 0 you received an order. Let's say on day 1 you confirm the order. Typically there can be a difference lag between the two, that you receive the order and then later on, maybe same day in an hour or so, or maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you can get the order confirmed. Let us say that it happened on period 1. Then period 2, what happened is that you, let's say, started production. Okay, you started production, and let's say you finished it. So let me not create 2 and 3 different, or let us 3 is your finished production. You started production here, finished production here. Point number 4 is, let's say, when you ship the goods. Let's say point number 5 is when the customer received the goods. Let's say point 6 is when that was the last day of return. Let's say this was the last day after which returns cannot be possible. Let's say day 7 is when you receive the payment. Okay, let's say all of these happen on a different time period. Now my question is, can you tell us that which date should I recognize the revenue? When did the revenue happen?
So when you finish production, sir.
4, 5, 6. Yeah, you need to give me the argument when you finish the production. Okay, why?
So because that day you've already incurred the expense, sir. So and
basically आपका खर्चा हो गया तो recognize the revenue. That's what is the argument. Okay. Any other arguments?
So when
use
you
the
confirm
phone,
the order,
use the microphone, speak it up first. Yeah.
So the day the customer gets the product, because service provide kar diya, so I think we should take it as a.
Okay, so this is the day when you are fulfilling your obligation. That is why. Okay, okay. Any other argument? Yeah. Go ahead.
The payment.
Sir, only once the payment is done.
Only when the payment is received. Why? Why? What is the argument behind that?
So because that is the actual date when you get the money, you know what you have given the goods.
So before this, it's all promise. That is when something is coming to us. Where is the money honey types argument? It so turns out that we have a dedicated concept for that. Where is the money honey? The concept is conservatism. So maybe they are inherently implementing conservatism concept in their back of mind. They are saying that when you actually get the money, only then you are calling it a sale. Okay, fine. Any other argument? Any other?
so the day that return thing gets over, because
okay, on this day. Okay, what is the argument?
the argument is that till the time the return guarantee is we are liable to return something. So it's it's like an advance payment which the customer can ask for any time.
Okay.
So it's not
basically here is your the bottom line of the Ishan's argument is that here is your uncertainty reducing, that now the goods are actually sold. It's not coming back. Okay, actually sold in the sense that it's not coming back. Before this, it could have come back to us. Okay, fine. Any other argument? Just बस 2-3 बचे इनके भी दे ही दो. Yeah, all the points there is some argument, right? So any argument? No content, no supporter for these guys. Unfortunate point 4. No. Okay, let me support this. का कोई नहीं उसका मैं हूँ. Okay, have you guys heard of this term called FOB? This term you would have heard in case of import and export business. Anybody associated?
Yes,
have
sir.
you guys heard of this term?
Freight on board.
Yes, sir.
Freight on board or free on board. What does it mean? Can you explain in a very short? What does it mean? FOB, what is the system of FOB?
So your liabilities until the time you ship the product. So when it leaves out, till that point, your liability.
And by your liability, he means the seller's liability. Let's say I am the seller. Let's say I am shipping some goods to some buyer in Canada. Okay. So this deal can happen in 2 manners. One is called FOB, another is called, I don't know, CIP or something. CIP? CIF. Whatever is the term that you can figure it out on your own. Go and Google it out. So these are the 2 alternative ways in which we could have dealt. Let's say person S and person C are entering into an agreement. Now this agreement could be done on FOB basis or CIF basis. What is the difference? The difference is in one of these, the seller's obligation is only to the point they deliver the goods to the courier partner. It's like, let's say I have delivered the goods. Let's say I am exporting some jewels. Okay. And suddenly, let's say in transit, the thing gets robbed and jewels are lost. Who bears the loss? In an FOB system, buyer will bear the loss. That is why our mutual agreement. Most of the time, this FOB system happens in a B2B business, most of the time, or also most of the time in export-import businesses. Okay. But there can be the same thing could have been structured in a different manner where our contract could have said that your responsibility is not only to deliver it to the courier partner, but also make sure that it is delivered properly. So your responsibility ends only when the customer gets the product. Okay. So here when somebody was mentioning that point number 5, your argument was that when is your responsibility as a seller is done? Or rather, when you have transferred the title of the goods. Have you guys heard of this phrase? When did the transfer of title of the goods happen? This is a legal phrase, or you may see it emanates from the legal background, but it's also common sense that
We also used it. We also heard such thing in marketing, whether transfer of title,
okay,
like
corpus,
a
then
small transfer
yeah.
of ownership.
So the point here is that after that point, the ownership transfers. That means if the goods get destroyed, it's the other party's damage, not yours. So when you are talking about delivery, you are talking about that if it's an FOB, then you could have recognized it here also. But when it is until delivery, it is your responsibility, then you can go ahead and recognize it here. Okay. Similarly, there will be a situation where the moment you have done production, then itself you can recognize revenue. We'll see that. But the bottom line here is that now you see that how the different argument or different viewpoint gives us a seemingly valid reason to recognize revenue here or here or here or here or here. Of course, we cannot be left completely free to determine wherever we want, because it will lead to too much of discretion. So the accounting concept, what it will try is that it will try to reduce the discretion. You will see that even after we try to reduce it, still tremendous amount of discretion is left, but still we want to reduce it. So for that, what we need is we need certain guiding principles or guiding arguments. It so turns out the guiding arguments which will decide this is very simple. The argument which will decide this case will be very simple. That is, all that we need to do is that two things should have happened. The period in which both of these are done, we recognize the revenue. What are those? Point number one is seller should have completed their obligation. Seller's obligation should have been complete. Now, can you imagine what should be the point number B? Anyone?
So buyer should have
Buyers should have completed their obligation. In fact, for buyers will be a little lenient. What we'll say is they should not. Yes, they should have either completed their obligation, or we should be reasonably certain that they will complete their obligation. Reasonably certain. Have you seen this phrase before? Reasonably certain. Where have you seen it?
Conservatism, sir.
Conservatism. Basically, when we are mentioning reasonably certain, we are introducing our conservatism principle in it. Conservatism concept. We are saying that sellers should have completed their obligation. That is point number one, and buyers should have also completed their obligation. Only in that situation, we will recognize something as revenue. Okay. So let's go ahead and implement these two criteria into our example. So in the case, I think the second point, what we would do when the second point itself is a question mark, that part should be very clear. What if the buyer, it's not reasonably certain to us that whether they will pay us or not? In that situation, we will wait until this date to recognize the revenue. Wait until the money has actually been received. I think that part should be very obvious to everybody. If the payment is a doubt, then wait until the payment has been received. Now, rest of the cases are slightly confusing. What if the payment is not doubtful? Then what do you do? Then it depends. Then when did you complete your obligation? Most of the situation, let's say if it is an FOB kind of a structure with you, then your obligation would be fulfilled on day 4. So recognize the revenue on here. That is, you have produced the goods and also you have shipped it. Your job is done.
so
If on top of that buyer's credibility is also not under question, then recognize the revenue in period 4. Okay. Yeah. Question. Go ahead.
So, but previously we had done sums where sales were made on credit, and then we were crediting it to accounts receivable, and then if we felt that there was some doubtful
yeah, we'll come back to
doubtful debts, but we were still recognizing revenue, right? So at that point.
Yes, that's what we will come back to this part. We'll come back to this part. What I'm saying, what did I say here so far is that if the payment is doubtful, then don't even recognize the sale, is what I'm saying. If let's say you have sold some goods to, let's say, Malya, okay, and you don't know whether the money will come back to you or not. So do not recognize the sale and then say that my provision this blah blah blah. Provision and all you do only when you are reasonably certain. So these two, both of these are fulfilled, only then you should recognize the revenue. ठीक है, यहाँ तक समझ में आया? If the payment is doubtful, don't even recognize the revenue. Forget about creating a provision. You haven't even created a revenue. Okay. Now I'm coming to a situation where you think things are reasonably certain. Now, how much certain is reasonably certain? Of course, this will have a differing category or different degrees. So that is when we will come back to this part that we still need to provide some provision, even though when we are reasonably certain. Reasonably doesn't mean that you are 100% sure. Otherwise, they would have used the word 100% sure.
So then in this case where you're saying if payment is doubtful, do you mean you're sure that you won't be paid?
No. Doubtful means that you have reasons to believe that it may be defaulted. Okay. Let us say I know Rishabh really well. Okay. And so far, whenever earlier I had given him money, he had returned it on time. Now, when I'm giving money to him, I'm reasonably certain that he will give me the money back. But am I 100% sure? No. So even in this case, maybe some provision I will create. But let us say I give, okay, who's sleeping? Let's see, some sleepy guy. Okay, let us say I give money to Jayesh. You better wake up now. So let us say he has given money to somebody and to some people he has defaulted. Now, when I'm giving money to him, at that point itself, I have some reasons to believe that he might not pay it back. So in this situation, I would not even recognize the revenue. That's what I'm saying. Unless he pays me back. On the day when he pays me back, on that day I will recognize the revenue. ठीक है, समझ आया? So when you don't have any reasons to believe, only then any of these 6 points are possible. When you don't have any reasons to believe that people will default. Yeah. Okay. More questions? Go ahead. Reeves, go ahead.
Sir, so does this mean that for an online retailer kind of setup, so COD versus paid orders mein alag mechanism will be used?
Yes, that's exactly what it means. Yes. In general, for B2C transaction, we don't see this version ever. For example, let's say you are ordering from Cloudtail, or you are ordering from Myntra, or you are ordering from Big Bazaar, or whatever. Let us say the guy is delivering, and even let's say just before the delivery, even within our street itself, the guy gets robbed. Who do you think is losing? Who lost the? Who will bear the losses?
Buyer.
The buyer is not going to bear the losses. Buyer will bear the losses only after the person has delivered the goods. Until the moment of delivery, seller is bearing all the losses.
So, but then in case of a company like Flipkart, so the seller will sell it to E-Cart first, and then E-Cart will be delivering.
E-Cart will
Yeah, that
not
will be
bear
their
the loss,
internal agreement. Yes.
That will be the retail impact.
That may be their internal agreement. Let us say the transfer of title is happening to E-Cart. Okay, this is a good example that you have brought. Let us say here is two things. Let's say Amazon and buyer. Okay, let's say Flipkart, E-Cart and buyer. Okay, now let's say Amazon has its own delivery partner, and the delivery happens. Let's say delivery partner. Okay, now this transaction may happen in two manners. One is that when Amazon gives the delivery to delivery partner, and delivery partner in turn will give to the buyer. In entire duration up till here to here, let's say the title of the good remains with Amazon. That means that until this part, Amazon or Cloudtail or whatever is the actual retailer, they cannot recognize the revenue until it is actually received by the buyer. Fine. But let us say, I'm just imagining a situation. Let us say imaginary situation that, let us say same thing is happening here and here in case of Flipkart. But when Flipkart is giving the goods to E-Cart, then E-Cart is also assuming the title of the goods. That means they are also taking the responsibility. In that situation, Flipkart can recognize the sale at this point itself, when they have sold the goods and where they have just delivered to E-Cart. Why? Because as far as legally things are concerned, they have done all their duties, so their part is done. So the moment here, the point of importance is that when is their responsibility done? Whichever point their responsibility is done, that point we will say that point number A is fulfilled. Okay, and for that, different kind of agreement could be entered into among different teams or different parties. Depending upon those, we will accordingly figure out that what date is the seller's responsibility complete. On that day, we will recognize the point A being fulfilled. Okay? Yeah.
But then in this case, the actual buyer is eCart for Flipkart, not the buyer who ordered.
Yes, that's exactly what it means. That even though the customers are ordering, it may be that legally eCart is buying from Flipkart and then delivering them or selling it further on to actual buyer for some commission or something. Okay, so here the legal transfer of the title is important. Yeah, Jitendra, go ahead.
So, but in actual life, we don't check if Jayesh is going to pay me or not, right? In general, we assume a percentage for provision.
Okay, that part will come to. That part will come back to. What I said is that in case you already know that, let us say I sold to Jayesh and you have some reasons, then what you do? That part only I have said so far. Okay, what if there is no, let's say Big Bazaar. Big Bazaar is not tracking the credit history of all the people who are buying, right? So what do you do in that case? It turns out that you will create a provision just on anticipation based. Okay, but we'll answer this part. Let me not dilute the major point here is that I'll just complete this example and then I'll take the rest of the questions. Let me complete the example first. So what I said is that there are only two criteria that I'm interested in. The true criteria is that seller's responsibility should be complete and buyer should be reasonably certain that they will fulfill their obligation. So it is in that period when both of these things happen, we recognize the revenue. So of course, when buyer is doubtful, wait until the payment. When buyer is not doubtful, find out that where did the seller's responsibility end. So seller's responsibility can end on the day of shipment in certain contracts, depending on how the contract created. Also, seller's responsibility can end on the day when the goods are received by the buyers. On top of that, there could be a possibility when you have just produced the goods on that day itself, you can recognize the sale. How is that a possibility? Let me create an example for that. Let us say Vidushi owns an oil well. Okay, and what did I do is that I went ahead and purchased the rights of all the production that she does. Most of the oil well deals happen in this manner, that somebody will go and they will buy the right of all the production from oil well. Let us say she produced some X barrels of crude oil and the price is, let's say I'm going to pay $70 per barrel. Now she doesn't need to transport it. Why? Because our contract itself says that the moment goods are produced, it belongs to me. This is another matter that later on I will request her to deliver it to somebody and from that somebody I will receive the goods. But if the transfer of title has taken place the moment the goods production has taken place, then she can recognize the revenue on point 3 itself. Why? Because our contract said so, that her responsibility is completed the moment she excavated the oil. Fine? So between point 3, 4 and 5 and 6 also, it depends that what sort of contract you are entering into. At least definitely between point 3, 4 and 5, that what sort of contract you have entered into. Okay, so a distinction between 3, 4 and 5 is clear, that which situation which one will take precedence. Now come back to point number 6. Should we not wait until the date of return? Even though the seller's responsibility is completed, there is a possibility that whatever I have sold may come back to me, right? Typically these guys give you, let's say for example, these all online retailers, they give you 7 days or 15 days of a return window, that if you did not like the things, you can return it. Should we not wait until the day 6 to claim that we have sold the goods? It turns out that from the concept of conservatism, we should definitely, right? Conservatism said that we want to be extra strict as far as gains are concerned. We don't want to recognize something unless we are reasonably certain. Samajh mein aa raha what am I talking about? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, how do we resolve this? We resolve this in a very simple manner. We find out that the way we discussed about provision for bad debts, what was the reason why we create provision for bad debts? We are saying that, let us say these are the different periods, 3.4, 5 and 6 and 7. When you are delivering the goods, shipping the goods, delivering the goods, return day over and payment over. What we are saying here is that we want to recognize the revenue here itself, let's say when the goods are received by the customers. When can we do that? We could do that when we have done our responsibility and also the buyer is reasonably certain. But still, even in this manner, we cannot forget the conservatism principle. What we will do, that when you are recognizing the revenue here, on an anticipation level, provide for some percentage of bad debts just on an anticipation basis. Let me repeat, what did I just now say? I said that when the buyer's responsibility is doubtful, then so anyway you are recognizing the revenue here. But when you are reasonably certain also, you are not 100% sure. Can you be 100% sure just because people have paid back in the past? It so turns out that before the Malia defaulted for the first time, he had not defaulted, right? So until that first default, even that fellow would have been default free, right? Does it mean to say that, can you conclude that just because somebody did not default in past will not default in future also? No. So you still need to provide for conservatism, that you think that you will be receiving the money, but you don't know actually you will or not. So for that, what you do is, let's say the sale happened is, let's say the sale we are talking about is sales of 50,000 rupees. So even though in period 5 itself, you will show a sale of 50,000 rupees, and according to that, you will supply the deduct the costs and other expenses. But what does conservatism say is that on this 50,000, make an estimate that, let us say you have sold to 100 people, on an average, how much of them will pay back and how many will default. On a pessimistic level. Why? Because there is a concept called conservatism which tells you that be pessimist. Now, how much pessimist? Pessimist doesn't mean here that even though you are reasonably certain, you don't show any revenue. You can go ahead and show some revenue, because actually it's this year that did the effort of generating this revenue. So it would have been very harsh on this year to say that sales was 0. But still at the same time, we cannot discount this fact completely that I still haven't received all the money. So what I will do is, on anticipation basis itself, I will subtract an expense. And that expense is what? That expense is transfer to provision. Transfer to provision for bad debts. Or in your book, you could simply see this one as bad debt expense. Bottom line is, this one is an expense in the income statement of this year. Which year? Year 5. And on anticipation level, let's say you say that on an average, 10% people default and 90% people pay off. So I will subtract other expenses, let's say 30,000 of costs, and I will subtract 5,000 additional, just so that I can incur a loss because of non-payment. So let me repeat it. When are you providing for this 5,000? You are not providing for this 5,000 when at the date of sale itself you are doubtful whether you will get the money or not. You are providing this one when you are reasonably certain you will get the money, but still there may be some proportion of people who may default. So for that you are providing it. Yahan tak samajh mein aaya? In a similar manner, what you can do is that when people do sales return, okay, here I will give you 2 examples. In fact, let me give you one example of Big Bazaar, as we are assuming this example, and then I will give you one more example to illustrate what I want to contrast it with. So let us say Big Bazaar sold their goods to 1,000 people. So on 1,000 people, typically they would not expect that all 1,000 may return, they would expect from past experience or from the experience of their competitors or something, they would expect that, let us say, 10% of the people will return. So similar to the way they have provided a provision, let's say they may provide a provision for that, or they may reduce the sale itself by 10%, but they will not reduce it 100%. They will not say that let the date 6 come, only then I will recognize the revenue. In the day 5 itself, they may go ahead and make an anticipation of this much of return and provide for it. This you will do when you think that returns are not going to reasonably impact the way your income statement is going to look. An example for that, you can just imagine that, let us say you are Big Bazaar and you are selling to 1,000 people every day. So let's say 30,000 people you have sold it to in a month. You don't expect all the 30,000 to return back to you. So you will, if it is a small percentage, you will just create a provision and move ahead. But this may not be the case always. Okay, so here I want to contrast this with another example of, there is a company called Jia Eco Products. I think Eco Products is what is the name. Let me check the name. Jia something. Anybody heard of this company? Anyone? Yeah, Jia Eco Products Limited. What I want you to do is that go ahead and download their recent quarterly reports. One of the most absurd or very strange looking income statement and balance sheet that I have seen so far. So this is how their income statement and balance sheet is looking like. So they are saying, let's say, I don't know which quarter it is. Maybe it is Q2 2020 to 21. Okay. So this is how the numbers are looking like. Sales of, let's say, negative 50,000. I don't remember the numbers, but let's just make something for argument's sake. Expenses of negative, let's say 56,000. So negative of negative 56,000, and that's how they have a profit of 6,000. Now go ahead and interpret this kind of an income statement. What are they even talking about? Now, what do you mean by sales of negative 50? Does it mean that Big Bazaar is giving you goods and on top of that they are giving you some money also? ये पैसे लेके जाओ, रास्ते में काम आएगा. That's what would be interpretation of a negative sale, right?
Returns. Sales returns.
It so turns out that, I don't know, you can go and check what is the reason, but highly likely that this company goofed up with the implementation of revenue recognition concept. What did they do? Maybe they had, let's say, 5 or 6 clients, 5 or 6 customers. And even if, let's say, 1 or 2 of them return, the total return is going to be sizable. That means that the income which they were recognizing on this period, on period 5, had a serious question mark simply because a lot of customers still had the return option available with them. So for this company, ideally, they should have waited until the day 6. They should not have recognized the revenue on day 5 itself just by saying that we have done our responsibility. No. Even though the responsibility is done, you are not reasonably certain that you will get back the money. Why? Not only because the customer may default, but customer will return. Right? So if you think that, let's say, your business structure is such that, let's say, 1, 2 or whatever percentage of people return. So in realistically speaking, you may end up having to change your sale. You better wait until the date, rather than showing this kind of an absurd statement, which doesn't make sense at all. Okay, so this is a very typical example of how, if you don't implement your revenue recognition in a very proper manner, you may end up making a statement which is bizarre and you are looking like a fool. If I were to prepare this kind of a statement and I were to present it, I would look like a fool. What kind of statement have you given to me? Okay, so bottom line of all of this is, all that we need to be bothered about is only these 2 points, and in these 2 points you go ahead and implement on what date seller's responsibility is done. On top of that, the next condition is not an or condition, rather it is an and condition. You understand the difference between or condition and condition? And means both of these need to have fulfilled. So make sure that buyers, there should not be any uncertainty also. Yeah, and it is in that period you go ahead and recognize the revenue. Yeah, questions. Yeah, Jitendra, go ahead.
Sir, so like, how do you determine how large should the returns be to kind of?
Anybody would want to answer this? So Jitendra is asking a question that how would you make a cutoff that how large possibility of return is sizable return?
Ask the owner.
Owner sales.
Ask the owner's managerial discretion. Okay, basically there cannot be a cutoff that someone can suggest to you. It depends upon your best judgment. Okay, but the judgment, what is the theme that you are looking for? The theme you are looking for is that is there a possibility that I may end up showing this kind of an absurd statement? If yes, then you are better off waiting until the last day of return has passed. Only then you recognize the revenue. If not, if you think that reasonably sure, very highly likely that I would not end up facing this kind of a situation. For example, people like Big Bazaar or Big Basket or eCart or Cloudtail or whatever. I would say that because the customer numbers is so huge and everybody is buying small quantity, for you it might be large quantity, for them it is a very small quantity. Because you are buying a very small quantity, even though let's say 100 people decide to return, but because I'm selling to 10,000 people, relatively it's going to be a very small insignificant amount. That is why a provision, creating of a provision is good enough. So where do you, bottom line, where do you draw the cutoff line? Nobody knows. Nobody can say. Conceptually, it just cannot be determined. It completely depends upon business to business. Yeah. Any more questions?
So,
yeah.
So why are you calling this a provision for doubtful debts? Doubtful debts is when you don't get the money for something that you've sold, right? That's a bad expense. But yahan pe sir, product, they return and you return their money. It's like the sale was never done. You reverse the sale.
So no. I didn't say that create a provision for doubtful debts. I create a provision with appropriate name. Apni shraddha se apna naam de dalo. Create a provision for possibility that people may return sales. Jo bhi naam dena hai de dalo. And subtract it from the sale. Okay. Yeah. Name is not at all important. It should be intuitive. That's all. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Now that you have understood the concept, let me check. Let me check if you have understood it. I'll create one more question, one more imaginary example, and I will ask again. The question is very simple: that when did the sale happen? Okay. You need to tell me. Let's say we are talking about a company called ONGC. Let's say ONGC is invited by, let's say, government of Philippines to do some oil exploration in, let's say, South China Sea. That here is this region, just come and explore whether there is an oil or not. Let us say this is how things happen. Let us say on day 0, you signed the agreement. On day 1, let us say our team arrived at team ONGC arrived in Philippines. Okay, so let us say the team arrived here. On day 2, let us say okay, let us say on day 2 you completed 90% of the work. I'm going to add one more complication in it, that after you have completed the 90% of the work, for remaining 10% you need a special equipment which you don't have. Let's say ONGC needs a special equipment, let's say some special drilling machine or something, which they don't have until the day 2 to finish the remaining 10% job. Now on day 3, let us say they actually acquire that machine. Let's say on day 4 you complete the remaining 10% of the job, and on day 5, let's say government of Philippines pay you the money. My question is, on which day sale happened? Question samajh mein aaya? I'll repeat. Point: day 0 agreement happened, day 1 team arrived, day 2 90% of the job done, but 10% cannot be completed because you don't have machine. Day 3 you acquired that machine. Day 4 you actually completed that remaining 10%, and day 5 you received the money. When did the revenue happen? Okay, no polling here, of course. You need to give me arguments. Give me arguments.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
Day four.
Day 4 should be the answer because when 90% was complete, they didn't know whether they would get the machine to complete it. After
Just
they
hold on, Rishabh. All those people, are you understanding the question I'm asking? Is the question clear? And a few of you who are hiding behind this black, whatever, display pic or something. समझ में आया question?
Sir, could you
yeah,
please
go
repeat once? My internet was problem.
Okay, so जिन का थोड़ा इंटरनेट स्लो है, कोई लोगों का रिस्पांस स्लो है, I'll repeat it very quickly. What is happening here is, let's say ONGC is invited by government of Philippines to do some oil exploration in South China Sea. This is how the sequence of event happened. That on day 0, let's say you signed an agreement that this is what, let's say you signed a deal for a revenue of, let's say the deal value is 5,000 crore rupees. So if you finish the work, you will get 5,000 crore rupees. Okay. On day 1, the team arrived in the South China Sea and started exploration. Let's say that is first time they did whatever Nariyal Pod or something. And day 2, they finished the 90% of the job. But to complete the remaining 10%, you need a special equipment. On day 3, you acquired that special equipment. On day 4, you finish the remaining 10%, and that's how the entire 100% of the work is done. On day 5, let's say government of Philippines paid you the money. My question is, on which date did the revenue happen for this business? Yeah. So Rishabh was giving an argument that on day 4, because that is when the job has been completed. Okay, any other argument?
So day 4, because you already have an agreement in place that they will pay you once the job is done.
Okay, fine.
So day 4 only, because we finished our obligation and
Any point apart from day 4?
Sir,
So
it can be day 2 as well, right?
Could it be anything else? Yeah.
Sir, it can be day 2 as well, right, sir? Because what if the machine, the special machine, was to be provided by the government of Philippines? So what if it was their obligation? So our 90% work was complete.
Okay.
We should recognize.
Basically, he's saying कि हमको जो करना था हमने कर दिया. It is stuck at your end. That is why you should recognize the revenue at this part. Let us, for the time being, assume that you were responsible to acquire the machine. Okay, so a convenient assumption I will make. Okay, in that situation, is there any other opinion possible?
Sir,
it depends on the
contract. Sorry,
go ahead.
No, Bhumi, go ahead.
So I was saying, generally in the contract it is mentioned that when this stage is completed, let's say 30% of the work is completed or something like that, at that time the company, the client will be liable to pay, and then the next stage will be paid at 60%. So whenever that moment occurs, whenever 30% of the moment occurs, that is when the company is liable to pay. So that
okay, perfect. So what Bhumi said is that if the contract has this clause that this much % of work is done, so you are eligible to get this much money and so on and so forth, then we will go ahead and recognize it in that proportion. Is that what you're saying? In general, very few contracts will be of that sort. It may be there, it may not be there. Most of the contracts will say what? That when you complete the job, only then you, let's say you are doing a contract of building a bridge. Okay, let's say this is, let's say there is a river and you are doing a contract of building a bridge. Let's say this bridge requires 100 pillars. So even though the money might be promised per pillar, let us say you stop after doing 90 pillars. Will they not ask their money back? That you either complete the bridge or give my money back? Or will they say कि अरे आपने 90% तो complete कर लिया, ये ले लो पैसे? Right? Even though the agreement may show that you are eligible to take the money percentage wise, you need to understand that what is the reason it is promised. The reason it is promised is that so that because it requires too much of money, you should not run out of fund. You are, when as a contractor, when you are getting the pillars constructed, let's say this construction takes 5 years or 10 years. You cannot expect somebody to only spend for 10 years. So they will require some support, right? So most of the time it is for this reason the proportionate payment is entered into. So even in these situations, let us say they forget about 90. Let us say they do 99 of them, and last 20 meter of the bridge is not complete. Can you use it? Are you going to make a payment to such kind of a party? Let's say they say that no, we will not do it. Will you not say that give our money back? Or maybe give the contract to somebody else and you make sure that you pay from your pocket or something, right? So here the argument is that whether this clause is there or not there doesn't change much. Why? Because an inherent or implicit expectation in all the contract is that give me the full work. Nobody wants half the work. Okay. Even in that situation, a lot of things can happen that we will discuss. Yeah, go ahead, Ramprasad. What do you say?
Sir, after the work is complete, the government will look at whether it has been completed to their expectation, and then only they will release the money. Then you can register it.
Okay, so the government of Philippines can say that we have explored from your side, but we are not satisfied. 2-4 square kilometers that chhoot gaya hua, so we will not pay the money. Is that what you are saying?
Sir, I mean, if you don't complete the work to their expectation, like let's say they have, let's say you are building a dam.
Sometimes it may happen that completing the work from your side itself might not be sufficient. It needs to be verified by some party. That somebody will give an authentication that yes, work is done to our satisfaction. Yeah. Okay, fine. So maybe I can do a day 5 and day 6 here. That this is the time where the job is certified to be complete to their satisfaction. So that's what he is talking about, that create a new point here. Okay, so on this day you should recognize the revenue. Okay, fair enough. Anything else? Any other possibility?
Sir, at day 2, if they are not sure they can acquire that tool, then they should make a provision like they may not get the money from the government of Philippines.
Okay, so they should not recognize the revenue is what you're saying, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let us see. Let us see all of these one by one. Let us say, just for convenience sake, let us say that to generate this revenue, they ended up spending 4,000 crores. So all the total expense was, let's say, 4,000 crore rupees. Just for simplicity, assume that of this 90% was spent in day 2 and remaining 10% was spent in day 4. Why convenience? Because that is the day when you are completing the job. So my assumption is that that is the day when you are spending for it. How would the income statement look like in different scenarios? Let us say we go ahead and recognize the revenue on day 5 when the certificate has been received that okay, yes, job has been completed to my satisfaction. How will the income statement look like? Income statement in year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So let's say sales and expenses. How will the revenue be in all these years? 0, 0, 0, 0. And in year 5, suddenly there will be a 5,000 ka 5,000 crore ka revenue, right? Similarly, you may have a very small expenses here, maybe small expenses here, maybe I think a big expense here. Let's say 3,600 crore rupees ka expense here. Why? Because 90% of the work is completed here. So I'm assuming that you would have spent for it. Samajh mein aa raha hai? And let's say a very small amount here, and then again 10% here. Let's say 400 crore here. And in here there is no expense. So your income statement will look like a small loss here, a small loss here, a big loss of 3,600 crore rupees here, a small loss here, a sizable loss of 400 crore rupees here, and a humongous profit of 5,000 crore rupees here. This is how your income statement will look across the years. Does it sound justified or unjustified? Sounds ridiculous, right? What if, let us say, different managers were in charge of all these years? Suddenly you would want to kick this guy, and you would, if possible, you would want to give Nobel Peace Prize or something to this guy, right? But what is the difference? Difference is nothing but of timing, right? So it so turns out that from this example, one thing should be clear to you is that this the point A and point B that we discussed earlier, that seller's responsibility and buyer's responsibility. Ideally, what should happen is that if the work is spanning more than one accounting period, you can go ahead and apply these things in proportion also, these criteria in proportion as well. So when you are in year 2, go ahead and find out that, okay, 90% of the job is complete. Are we certain that for 90% the buyer will pay? So you can go ahead and recognize the 90% of revenue here itself. Let us say in this example, you are sure that the buyer will pay up, but you are not sure that whether you will get the component or not. There was one machine needed, right? यहाँ तक समझ में आया that if let's say you think that 90% of the job is complete and you are reasonably certain that the buyer will pay, you should recognize 4,500 here is set. Fine. Now this you could not have done if you see the possibility that, let us say, the machine that is needed is very doubtful. I don't know whether I will acquire it or not. So in that situation, wait until day 3, and in day 3 recognize 90% of the revenue. Okay, so two things are important here, that you waited for day 3, and on day 3 also you did not recognize 100%, rather you recognize only 90%. Why? Because on this day you are certain that you will complete the work, but so far you have completed only 90%. In day 4 you can go ahead and recognize remaining 10%. When you think that there is reasonable certainty that you will receive the certificate. You don't have any reasons to believe कि कहीं pillar में कुछ रह गया, कहीं something रह गया, या फिर you see that, let's say, the auditors of government of Philippines are very खड़ूस or something. That day, in that situation, wait until period 5. Bottom line of all this discussion is two things. One is that these two criteria can be implemented in proportion, and within that, always keep looking for your conservatism concept. So conservatism will guide you, at least theoretically it will guide you, that should you have waited for the certification or not. If you think you are reasonably certain you will get the certificate because there is no flaw anywhere, whatever criteria they are mentioning, no need to wait for period 5. You can recognize it in the prior periods itself. If you think there is any possibility, let's say even this one is a valid possibility, that let's say just the auditors are kadus. So wait until the date. Basically, if any pointer are indicating that you have reasons to believe that you may not get the certificate, then wait for the day 5. Okay? In practice, how will you implement these things is a separate matter. But in principle or conceptually, did you understand what are we looking for? What are the arguments? The arguments we are looking for is that uncertainties should be done away with. So once uncertainty are not there, then to the extent the uncertainties are not there, in the period in which you have finished the work, go ahead and recognize the revenue. Okay? यहाँ तक समझ में आ गया? Any questions?
Sir, how will you write it in the balance sheet? Because you have not got the cash from the government, right?
Okay, so this part is simple. We will see this in tomorrow's class, but because we have about 6 more minutes to, oh no, 6 more minutes. This ends at 1:15, right? I was hoping that today, for a change, I will end it dot on time. So that is what I will do. Because this part anyway, I will take it up tomorrow. So we'll hold it for now. So what I want you to do is do some readings. This is what I want you to read. So there is a case called John Holtz. John Holtz. This is at the end of your chapter 5 in your book, chapter 5. Just 1.5 page, not even that. Very small case. Some 3-4 line caselets are there, small caselets. Just read them. Okay, कुछ उसको solve करने की जरूरत नहीं. All I want is you read the facts, and the moment you will read the facts, you will have certain opinion. So we will discuss these opinion tomorrow. So this is half of the task for tomorrow. Remaining half of the task is there are 5 methods mentioned. Go and read about them. Just 2-3 pages. That's all. Read about a method called percentage of completion method. Percentage of completion method. This is one method, and contrast it. So this versus another method called completed contract method. So there may be other method also. I don't want you to read them. You can, of course, but we are not going to discuss them. But read these 5. So these 2 are competitor to each other, and remaining 3 will be competitor to each other. That is, one is called a production method, one is called a installment method, and one is called a delivery method. So in chapter 5 of your book, this is what you need to read. Read about these 2-3 pages, that what these methods say. We'll do a small example tomorrow of these two and these two. Production will not do these two and these two, last two. And then we'll discuss very small additional discussion, and we'll discuss some of the parts of John Holtz. Fine. So ye kal karenge, the question you are asking, we'll do it tomorrow anyway. Fine. चलो डॉट ऑन टाइम, आज के लिए मुझे प्राइज मिलना चाहिए. ओके चलो गाइस, सी यू टुमारो देन. बाय.
Thank you, sir.
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 Okay, fine. Have fun.
Finally, वो पूछना था कि what are we doing for that in the test? Like, are we giving the same weightage?
So there were two things that I told you about the test. One is about